Hello, welcome back. Another Creative Tap tutorial. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to use the pen tool to make selections, but we'll also be making this cool little collage-y effect. Okay. Now, the pen tool can be a really difficult one to kind of get your head around, so we'll be dialing it back and looking at some simple clicks, and then end up creating something that looks like this, quite nice. So let's jump on in. Now there is a link to this image in the description. However, you can use any image you want really. I recommend going with something like a person because there's a lot of organic shapes in there and it really gives you practice getting those curves and stuff in there. So it's a good starting point. It's difficult and you will need to undo a lot, especially if this is your first time using a pen tool, but it's definitely a good idea to use something that's quite organic like this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this background. So I've got two copies. I just like doing that. It's just, I find it safer. Now, on the left hand side, you'll have something called the pen tool. Okay, if you click out, you've got a lot of other stuff in here, but we just want the normal pen tool. So I'm going to start by go around his skin. We want to go around his hair, shirt, tie, jacket, and this little handkerchief down here, and then we can do the sky a different way. So to start off, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start with his skin. So I'm going to give a click here and then I'm going to click down by here. Okay, now this is quite nice because the collar is going to be going on top, so we can actually start clicking in and we don't have to go along this edge because we'll be putting the collar on top. So we can just click around until we get around to here. Now I'm going to click up to here and now start clicking on his neck. Now we've got a curve by here, so when we've got our point down here, if we were to click up here, maybe just by here, and hold the click down and drag out, you can get a nice little curve. Okay, now these handles can be really confusing, but you just want it to go along the edge of his neck. Okay, now the issue is my next point I want to just click in by here, but you can see it goes a little bit haywire. Now that's fine. The way to correct that is to hold Alt on your keyboard and we can now modify that. Okay, so it is quite tricky, but something like that is going to be fine, and we can come around and we can carry on this curve around his ear. Now these handles are going to be something that will take a lot of getting used to, and you may want to Control Z and undo a couple times, and that's fine because it is quite tricky. Okay, so now I'm going to go for this big curve around here like so, and in my next click, basically the computer wants my click to go over here, which is where this handle is pointing, but I actually want to go up here, and you can see it goes a little bit haywire. So just holding Alt with that handle, you can just modify like so. But actually we don't really need to do that because this hair is going to be going on top, so I'm just going to undo so we can actually be fairly rough with this, because again, like the collar, the hair is going to be going on top. So I'm just going to come around down here until we get, let's zoom in, Alt and scroll wheel to here, and we just want to go down to the ear, and then we're going to come around, click and drag this time, and then I'm going to come in, and that's mostly stuck there, and now I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to Alt and click this handle just to bring it out a little bit, like cool, and come around again, click and drag just to get those curves in there like so, and I want to Alt and click this one to bring it out a bit, and now when I try and come down the side of his face, it's just going to warp over here. So all you need to do is Alt click this last handle and you can move it like so. Okay, and finally I'm going to join up just like that. Okay, so now I've got his face all sort of drawn in, and we can put the hair on top, so we'll get rid of this rough line, and the collar will be on top as well. So what you want to do is, one thing you want to check is you want to check that your pen was set to path. If it wasn't, if it was set to shape, you can just click in. If I set it to shape, set it to path. Okay, so once you've got that, what you want to do is go to paths over here, this paths tab, and we want to double click and we want to rename this to head. If you don't rename it, Photoshop can sometimes have a tendency to kind of forget and delete your path, and you don't want that. But once you've renamed it, you will be fine. So we've got head here. Now, if we were to click this in the Paths tab and also select this down by here, this is going to load this as a selection. So now we can create a new layer, get our paint bucket tool, change this to pattern, and let's go for a nice skin color, like so, and we can click in here and it's going to fill it. You can see it's sort of got a pattern, striped pattern to it. It's going to fill it with a pattern, and you can always fill it with a color if you want to. So if you wanted to do that, you could go to foreground, just pick a random color, maybe something like that, create a new layer and go like that. But I don't want to. I like going with the patterns with this, even though you can't tell it's that much of a pattern but there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna hit Control or Command D to deselect that, because that's our skin done. So we can turn this off, but we'll just rename it. And basically we're going to be repeating this process now. So I'm going to go for the hair next, I think. So let's get our pen tool. Make sure it's set to path. And I'm going to come in. And I just want to be, I want to do it as quickly as I can, really, just so this isn't too long of a tutorial. But I also want to do it as accurately as I can. So I think I can come across here, down. I'll come in here and I'm going to try and get some of these flicks. Okay, now that's not a very good flick at the moment, so I'm just going to Alt and Alt click that as well. So I'll come in, Alt click, and come in like this. Maybe Alt click that as well, just to make it a little bit more spiky. And I'll come in and keep on doing that. So Alt click, and we'll do one more thin one by here. But yeah, you don't want to spend too much time on this, really. And I'll Alt click just to get that. And then I think I'm going to come back around like so. Alt click that, and yeah, we'll just build up this hair by here. So he's going to have a little, yeah, it's got a little bit of a bald patch there, so we can roll with that, that's fine. I'm just going to come around like so and bring it around like that. Now for the outside, I'm not going to bother with all these little tufts. I mean, I think I may one or two, but for the most part, I'm not going to bother. I may just come out a little bit by here, just to give it a little bit of realism. And I'll follow the major contours, but again, the little tufts, not really necessary, because there's no way you wouldn't actually draw that in with a pen tool. There's other ways, using the magic wand tool, stuff like that. So we're going to come in by here. Now I want to go Alt click just to sharpen that up a little bit, make it better. And I'm going to get maybe some of these bumps in by here. So I'm going to do small clicks, drag it though to get those curves, because the curves is what sells it. And then we're going to come down and we will have the hair done. But what we want to do is very quickly rename it so it's not called work path, and then you won't lose it. We'll load this as a selection, come back to layers, make a new one, call it hair. Now I'm going to get the paint bucket tool. I'm going to change it to pattern, because again I prefer to go with pattern, and let's give him some sort of hair, that colour. There we go. So if we come out now, we have got the skin, and you can see that line, if we deselect, that line is hidden with our hair on top. Okay, and next we want to go, I think we'll do the jacket next. So let's turn these off. Now the jacket's going to be quite an easy one. So P for the pen tool, make sure set to path, and we're just going to keep on clicking in like so. And you can see I'm not paying much attention with mine really, because I'm trying to do this as quick as I can. And just get most of the contours in there. You can obviously spend a lot more time doing yours, but again, just to make sure I get this done quickly, I'm going to go quite rough on mine. And I'm going to come across his neck by here, because again this is going to be behind and it doesn't matter. Actually, we won't go across his neck. We'll just come across by here, across the collar again. And let's carry on down here. Very, very rough. Just get that little fine bit of detail in there. And we're going to come all the way down like so and join it back up. Same as before. Jacket. And we're going to get the new layer. So we name it to jacket. Get the bucket and jump ahead. Get a color like this, I think. And make sure that we load this as selections by clicking this button down here. And we can go back to the layer, select it, and now we can put it in. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fast forward. No, I'm going to pause it while I do the rest. All I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around the jacket, no, around the shirt, all the way down here, across, up and across and around here. Then I'm going to draw around the tie, just around the edge of the tie like that, draw around, and the same with the neckerchief. Once I've done all his clothes, I'm going to unpause it and I'll carry on the recording so I can show you how you can get the how you can do the background. And it's a different way we do it, so it's quite soft to make it, you know, because you've got a soft gradient from blue to white. So I'm going to pause it here and then I'll join you in just a second. Right then, so you join me back. I've just drawn around the hanky. So if we come to my paths, you can see I drew around that one. I drew around the tie. So you can see this is the path that I used for the tie. Then this is the path I used for the shirt, and so on. And I just separate them out. So we've got skin, hair, jacket, shirt, and then tie, and then this hanky. Now, what we want to do for the background is we don't really want to use the pen tool for this, even though this tutorial is about the pen tool. Just to finish it off, we want to use something else. So what we're going to do is get our background copy, come to this tool by here, the magic wand tool, or you can hit W and just make sure it's not the quick selection tool, it's the magic wand. My tolerance for this is on 50, so you can put it to whatever you want, 32 maybe, that's the default. And I'm just going to click on this blue and I'm going to shift click on some more of this blue by here, okay? Until it leaves us with the sort of blues and greys selected and the whites unselected. Okay, so something like that is fine. It's just rough, but it's fine. So what we want to do is come to paths, because we want to be able to say this is a path as well. Actually, I think I'm going to reselect that. So I'm going to Control D. There was too much selected. I wanted a little bit less. So I'm going to turn the tolerance down to 30. So I'm going to click, shift click, just to get some of these blues in. We don't want many holes around there either. Get these. So hopefully there'll just be a white cloud left behind him. And let's get some of these this side. A bit more maybe. Yeah, I think something like this is going to be good. Okay, so let's just get a little bit up there. No, too much. It's a little bit just up here. Tell you what, doesn't matter about that. So we've got this selected, which is great. So what we want to do is come to paths and we want to click this button down here, and it's called Make Work Path from Selection. Okay, and we're just going to double click this to name it Clouds. Or it's actually the blue sky, isn't it? So blue sky. And click OK. Now we can load this as a selection. And what I'm going to do is, tell you what, I won't feather it actually, I won't do that. Better way. We're going to make a new layer and we're going to get I think I'm just going to get a nice blue, no, I'm going to go with a texture still, I think. So let's get this blue texture and I'm going to fill this area. Okay, so we'll double name this to sky and then Control D, and it's a little bit rough at the moment, but that's fine. So what we want to do now is create a new layer below the sky and just get a white texture or white color at the end of the day. You're not really going to see the texture on that, but we're just going to get the white color texture, sorry, and fill in there, and there we have it. Now what we want to do next is get this sky and go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, okay? And you can, if you want, you can keep it down to there. You can only blur it a little bit, but the more you blur it, the kind of softer that gradient gets. So you can kind of bring it up there, and then it kind of looks like a nice sort of blue cloudy sky. And I'm going to go with that and click OK. And we've got that sorted now, so let's turn everything on from top to bottom. We've got this guy, then we've got, let's name layer 1, that's the sort of white texture layer, that's the clouds, then the blue sky comes in, then the skin, the hair, the jacket, the shirt, the tie, and the hanky. And that's our finished product. And we can put that all together, shift select them all, and put them into a folder, and we can call this collage, and turn it on and off, and that is our finished product. Okay, so thank you for tuning into this tutorial. I hope it helped you with the pen tool. Obviously it can take a lot of practice, but just keep at it and you'll be fine. So cheers for tuning in, and sorry for it being so long, but I'll see you in the next tutorial. Cheers, bye.